Hello guys and gals. The video I'm going to do today, I did a little bit of talking about minimum descent altitude, decision altitude, and I'm not an instructor. This is not an instructional video. I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a guy that's got a few thousand hours and been flying for almost 30 years. And there's a lot of buzz on the internet about that crash in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. And I got to looking at that, and I was thinking, man, that could happen to anybody. You know, the best pilots, because, when I started flying, there was no such thing as a GPS. If you had low ran, you was somebody. And I remember getting on the floor and taping these VFR charts together with a plotter, a pencil, and a whiz wheel, the manual E6B computer. And that's how you made your flights. And so when you went to fly it, you wrote everything down, and you better know what you're doing on the ground, because then that's all you got in the air. That was tougher back then. So technology is wonderful. It's great. I mean, this technology has done got so good that it kind of makes us want to lay back and let all of this fancy stuff, expensive stuff we're putting in these planes, fly the plane. And I'm guilty of it, because that's what it's for. But like this guy in Steamboat Springs, you can argue Garmin shouldn't have had the make-believe glide path, on a non-precision approach, because the only true glide path is a glide slope on an ILS. Everybody knows that. In LPV, you're not going to hit nothing there if you follow it, but these non-precision approaches, these LNAV, VNAV, all this stuff, Garmin puts an imaginary glide path from the final approach fix down to the runway. And it tells you this is not to be used. I use it, but when I'm VFR, because I can see, and it just makes it a smoother transition. And Garmin, you got to hit a button and all that. You're not supposed to use this for terrain avoidance and all. But the thing is we get so used to doing it, the one time that you do it and shouldn't have, you end up dead. Now, I'm sure that pilot over there was a good fellow and a good pilot. I know he was in a fast airplane. He had a turbine. So I know it was fast. It had auto throttles on it, auto land, about the best you can get. But it don't matter if you're in a Cessna 150, a Cub, whatever. When you're flying, remember the old-fashioned stuff, the old school ways. Those, no matter what Garmin did, you can argue that Garmin's at fault, and I'm not going to get into all that because everybody's got their own opinion. And it seems to me that pilots need to talk more about what you're supposed to be doing in the airplane, in the cockpit, by what you were taught. Those restraints on those approaches, and that's a cockamamie approach over there at Steamboat Springs. In fact, the approach that it looked like he was on is not even authorized at night. And you can talk about all the holes in the Swiss cheese, and there was a lot of them. Me, I would have never done that. I wouldn't have been flying at night in a single-engine airplane with a low ceiling, and he chose to do that. And everything starts adding up, and then the approach is not authorized at night. The runway in lights, there was NOTAMs. Those were out of service. The PAPIs were out of service, or the VASI, I can't remember which one, but there wasn't no lights at the end of the runway. And you're at night in a fast airplane. I mean, things happen really quick in that airplane that he was in. But you could be in the slowest of airplanes. I believe what happened was the pilot absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, turned everything over to automation. And that's where the old school needs to be, back in the cockpit. It don't matter what Garmin says, what the equipment says it'll do, how much technology you've got in the cockpit. You are in control of that airplane, and if you just pound that in your head that you cannot go below an MDA, or you stand a chance of dying. You can't go below decision altitude unless certain criteria is met. Y'all know what all that is. But the MDA, if you want to grab that imaginary Garmin made-up glide path from the final approach fix down to the runway, and that's what it's going to bring you on a designated glide path that it says it's going to do. If you want to do that, fine. But make sure that you are monitoring what the airplane's doing. If you want to let it go hands-free, keep your hand on the yoke, your hands on the throttle and everything. But be mindful of that MDA. You can't go below that, because that Garmin glide path, it's going to keep going down. You know not to go down below that, so keep calling it out and make it an absolute audible. Call it, even when I'm by myself, I call it out, my altitudes. I guess everybody's got their own way of doing things, but I just believe in my heart that if that guy would have flown that approach like we were all taught and not go below the MDA, I mean, he wouldn't have hit nothing. But that being said, it kind of woke me up, so I'm gonna make a video. I'm gonna go shoot an approach out here, and I'm gonna show you how I was taught to do it. And I do it like this every time. And I'm not saying that you should do it this way, not at all. I'm just showing you how I did it, or how I do it. And it feels safe for me. It's the same way every time. And I'm just all about flying the airplane. And if I'm going to let the autopilot do it, I'm going to be just like I'm with it flying it. I'm going to be calling out altitude, because that's what'll kill you. You got, number one, you have to, if you're going to let the autopilot fly it, you have to verify it and make sure that the aircraft is doing what you want it to do. You got to be stable. I try to get stable well before the final approach fix. And from there, from the final approach fix, all I have to do, I don't have to push no more buttons. I don't have to put no flaps in. I don't have to adjust nothing. All I got to do from the final approach fix is concentrate on flying that plane down to either the MDA and hope I see land or runway environment, or down to decision altitude and hope I see the runway. And that's all. Fly it down and be prepared to go missed. Because when I cross that final approach fix, when I'm going down, for me, it's just how I do it. I'm not saying nobody else should do it this way. But when I'm starting to go down, what's going through my head are two things. One, the decision altitude of the MDA and keeping it stable. If I get unstable, I'm going missed. And two, the only other thing that's going through my mind is the missed approach. I'm thinking about going missed. I'm on the edge of going missed every single time. And that way, if it's a surprise, I'm all ready for it. But, hey, let's go fly, and I'll show you how I do it. It works for me, and if somebody, if you got a better way of doing it, maybe you think I ought to try something a little different or whatever, hey, put it down in the comments and let me know. Let's go do it. Hello again, guys and gals. Here we go again. Beautiful day. Gonna ride out from Davenport, burn a little fuel. Got an annual due this month. And we're gonna just roll out there and shoot the RNAV to 15 back in. Nothing to it. All right, do the old checklist thing here.
Green. Autopilot configured. Fuel selector, fullest tank. Carburetor heat, cold. Primer, locked. Mixture, set. Propeller, full forward.
Okay, I got everything configured there. I am on the fullest tank. Carburetor heat's cold, primer's locked. Mixture set. Propeller's full forward. I don't know, it looks like either runaway would work. This guy's gonna leave on 2-1.
Traffic Cessna 2807 Alpha, moving in to depart runway 21. I'll turn left and eastbound, gone, no return, Davenport.
Uh-oh, must be going on a trip. Propeller's full forward, seatbelts are fastened, flaps we don't need. Trim tab set neutral. DG, check ball and skid. The door's closed and latched. Cockpit faders off, brakes.
Clear runway 15, will be taxi back southbound.
Heading bug. I think I'm gonna do runway 21 myself. Altimeter. $2057. That ain't right. No, 29er64. All right, got that did. Transponder's appropriate code, fuel pump, IFR conditions. Good to go. Davenport, traffic Dakota 19 taxi from the T's, runway 21, Davenport. The windsock is definitely, looks like 40 degrees off that nose if you're 15, but only 20 degrees right here on 21, so that's actually the better runway. All right, we'll do a mag check. Probably a little windy up there, but don't really matter. We're going fly. Okay, time.
2-1.
Instruments. Trim set for takeoff. Heading bug is set. Seatbelts buckled. Davenport traffic Dakota 19 Mike departing runway 21, right hand turn out to the west, Davenport.
Runway 21, 3,900 feet remaining.
All right, air's clear, runway's clear. Don't see nobody, don't hear nobody. Mixture's rich. Fuel pump is on, landing light is on, here we go. All right, T's and P's are green. Airspeed's alive. And we'll go on over to Quad Cities. Quad Cities approach Dakota 691 mic.
Dakota 6919 mic, Quad City first squawk 4511.
4511.
November 2807 Alpha, this is Quad City approach. Are you monitoring frequency?
All right, landing lights coming off. CHTs are looking good.
Dock 6 I Delta traffic. 2 o'clock, 3 miles, eastbound altitude indicates 3000, type unknown.
Looking for traffic, 65 Delta.
Dakota 19 mic, radar contact 2 miles northwest of the Davenport Airport. Altimeter 2964, verify altitude and say request.
64 on the meter through 2,600 for 3,500. I'm going to go maneuver out to the west here and come back in. I'm going to shoot an approach back into Davenport, just know which one.
Dakota 19 mic, roger. November 76 Juliet Mike, contact Rockford approach 126.0. Good day.
All right, after takeoff checklist, flaps are down, prop is reduced. We can even go a little bit more on that prop, come back off of a little bit more. Landing light is off, strobe's off. 300 to go, no, 200 to go till we level off at 3,500.
Skyhawk 65 Delta flight 150, descend and maintain 3000.
150, descend, maintain 3000, 65 Delta.
All right, leveling off at 3,500. Fuel pump's coming off. If I was going somewhere, I'd just leave that throttle wide open. But we don't need to burn all that fuel around here. We're staying low. That looks about right. Now we'll go lean a peak. And there we are, lean a peak. Prop is set. Fuel pump is off. Mixture's lean a peak. Engine parameters are normal. Verify fuel flow. All right, let's see what I got here. Got an approach in there. I want to take that out. There we go. And we'll redo it. We'll put another approach in there. And we'll do the RNAV back into 1. Let's see what we're going to use. We'll do Rico. I want to load that up. All right, CHT's looking great. 60% power.
True airspeed's 129. 118 indicated. We got 124 knots over the ground. Temperature up here is 70 degrees, and we got about 1 knot headwind. That's about it. Now usually,
Dog 6, I Delta, turn right, heading 180, continue descent, maintain 2,000.
usually what I do, we'll turn
right,
to the
heading
north
180,
now.
clear. Proceed down to 2,300, 865 Delta.
And what I do to keep me from getting in a bind, what my instructor taught me a long time ago, is I take a approach I'm going to use, and I put it on a sticky note. I've already got this one done. And I put it right here. This is a full sticky note, you know, not just the top. And I stick it right there. And the reason I do that is because I'm getting a little older. And sometimes I can't think as fast as I used to. I mean, I'm not old, I'm 60 years old, but I notice my limitations grow a little bit slower. So rather than get bent out of shape, I just figure everything out here. Now the approach coming back in there, I write 3 things on this sticky note. The first number is either my MDA or my decision altitude. I ain't going below that. That's the first number. Second number, excuse me, is my missed approach altitude of 3,000, and where I'm going don't missed approach. I write that there. That's it. And I stick it right there so when I'm scanning, I don't have to look up or around or nowhere. I'm constantly calling it out as I go down. You know, if I'm 2,000 for 1,050, and I keep calling that down, when I get within 500, I go hundreds all the way down. You know, 1,500 for 1,050, 14 for 1,050. And I keep going back and forth calling that out loud. That way, I know I don't miss it. And it's right here. Even though all these electronics have got it all on here, I get that. But, you know, you can't beat, for me, you know, it's different for everybody, but you can't beat old school. And when I started flying, there wasn't even such a thing as a GPS. So you can't go wrong. Whoever, you know, if you go with your altitude constraints on the approach, you know what they are, and you don't go below
65 Delta,
the
6
MDA.
miles mountain, turn right, heading 230.
You ain't going to hit nothing.
Correction, turn right, heading 240,
you know,
maintain 2,300.
that's just, everybody knows that, right? It don't matter what avionics you use, you can use that imaginary glide path that Garmin puts on here if that's what you want to do. I do it. But I got this right here, and I ain't going to let nothing take me below that MDA or that decision altitude. If I hit MDA and I don't see the runway, I'm already gearing up for that missed approach. That's just the way it is. So that's how I do it. That way, you know, when you got a Garmin autopilot that'll do that imaginary glide path and take you down, it'll keep going below the MDA, right? On a non-precision approach especially, it'll keep going down. Because that's what it's going to do. If you're staring at that flight director, you're just going to pass right through it. So put that number up here for me. I ain't going below that number. Once if I'm on an imaginary glide path and it goes that direction down towards it, when I get there, I'm right here on the altitude, right? So I'm going altitude hold, and then if I don't have the environment in sight, I'm at the MDA, I'm flying to the missed approach point. At that point, I'm going to hit toga, and nav, and then go to the missed approach. But then again, I know what I'm watching because I know what altitude I got to climb straight out to 3,000, direct Yodop, and hold.
Dog 6 Delta contact tower.
All right, let's just stop all this talking. Just kind of enjoy. What a beautiful day. Glory to God and all his creations. Amen. Oh, what a beautiful day. This has been a good day for Miss Michelle to come up here with me, I'll tell you that. All right, we're at 3,500 feet. Rico at or above 3,000. 19 mic request.
Dakota 19 mic, go ahead.
I'd like to shoot the RNAV 21 back into Davenport, full stop, starting at Rico.
Dakota 19 mic, roger, maintain VFR, clear direct Rycott for the RNAV 21.
Direct Rycott for 19 mic. All right, so we're going to hit Rycott, direct, activate, go to nav. And since we're up here, I'll go ahead and turn the fuel pump on and switch tanks. If I'm going to switch tanks, you know, if it ends up into that within that 30 minutes, I always like to do it up high, not when I'm starting to come down. One less thing to do. And me, once I'm on an approach, I ain't switching no fuel tank. That's all I need is for the dog to get into VMC, and all of a sudden, I mean IMC, and then all of a sudden the handle to that thing comes off in your hand. That ain't good. I bet you learn how to learn some new prayers if that was to happen. Come on. Okay, he told us we're VFR, so 3,000 is my at or above, so I'm going to go ahead and go down to 3,000 vertical speed, and I dive and drive. That's what I like to do. Some folks do it different. I like to get on down. Feet till the 3,000 feet. $4 miles to Recott.
And as a 90566 Quebec positive approach. Good evening, altimeter 2964.
All right, there we are, 3,000.
You could expect your clearance outside of Zappa.
19 mic, we'll call. All right, so he's told me he's going to clear me right about or before the next fix. And the next fix is 3,000 feet too, so we got a long way to go at 3,000 feet. No worries. What a beautiful day to fly. I know I've said that probably 5 times. I'm going to make it 6. How about 7? Because it rhymes with heaven. What a beautiful day to fly. All right, 2 miles from Rycott. Called it Rico. It says it's Rycott, so I guess it's Rycott. I just want to pound in. You know, everybody does things different, but for me, getting a little older, this right here is the best thing since sliced bread. My instructor taught me how to do that, and he's a little older too, right? So that's what I like to do. I keep these in the side pouch over here. Got an extra one, you know, in my bag. All right, right turn to 141. That's what we're doing. Scoreboard agrees, GPS agrees. We can go ahead and turn our heading indicator over to 141. That's another verification that we're going
Force 1 landing area in sight.
in the direction that we should be.
Force 1, roger, radar service.
And we are.
That's Force 1, thank you.
All right, 7.5 nautical miles now to Zappa. Zappa is our next turn. And then Nudgee, N-U-T-G-E. After we pass Zappa, we can go down to 2400. And the next one will be our final approach fix. So that's the next altitude that we're going to have, right?
1 out of Mike 5 miles from Zappa. Cleared for the RNAV 21 approach into Davenport, maintain VFR.
Cleared RNAV 21 in Davenport. 1 out of Mike, thanks. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put 2400 in the window here for our altitude, because that's going to be our next altitude. One less thing. We are cleared for the approach, but I don't hit approach, you know, on the autopilot. I know a lot of people do, and whatever works for you. You know what I mean? Make a habit and do it all the same way every time. I don't do that because I like to RNAV it down. I'm not going to hit an approach button that activates vertical anything until I'm straight in and approaching the final approach course.
Alpha, quad set approach on frequency.
The final approach fix, I'll arm it before that. But for me, that's just the way I do it. Because like I said, I like to dive and drive. So when you hit that approach button, I don't want to catch the glide path, whether it be imaginary glide path for a non-precision approach. Doing the ILS is a little bit different, but then again, you want to be close to the final approach fix for me before I activate vertical guidance. Till then, I want to tell the plane, because all I'm doing is telling the autopilot, and I'm just verifying what it's doing by checking the scoreboard, checking the GPS.
Charlie Alpha, 7,000.
But for me, if I dive and drive, then I'm in control of it until, okay, now I know I'm going to start to go down, and I'm concentrating on my MDA or my DA. So I'll hit it then.
Quad City approach, cap 1131.
Quad City departure, 865 Delta, 1,400, climbing 3,000.
Cap 1131, quad set approach, squawk 4512.
All right, I'm 2 miles from Zappa.
4512, cap
I'm 6 miles to the final approach fix.
Okay, 65 Delta, quad set departure, radar contact, climb maintain 3000, maintain your present heading.
Climb maintain 3,000.
So at this point, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do a gumps, gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop. I get in a minute. Seat belts are buckled, and I'm going to slow down to about 100. Not approach speed yet, but I'm going to start to slow down now.
Airport altimeter 2964, verify altitude and set request.
2964 altitude checks. We're going to be doing 2 landings at
all right turn to 212.
Full stop at Moline.
Cap 1131, roger.
I got it bugged. Course line. We are turning.
Quad City approach, Cirrus November 9995 Whiskey Bravo 6000.
Cirrus 9995 Whiskey Bravo, quad city approach, altimeter 2964.
2964, 5 Whiskey Bravo.
And what I start slowing down for,
65 Delta, turn right heading 020.
about 18 inches of manifold pressure, starts to get me to my flap speed. But I still got
65 Delta, just advise you have the weather
5
plane
miles
airport and
to
understand
the
you
final
guys want
approach
the
fix.
ILS-3, is that correct?
Affirmative, we're picking up the weather. 865 Delta.
Roger. Experimental 7 Charlie Alpha, you could expect the visual approach at the Galesburg Airport. Descend at pilot's discretion, maintain 3000.
We'll expect the visual and...
All right, we're at 3,000 now. We can go on down to 2,400, so that's what we'll do. 4.7 miles to the final approach fix. I see my glide path is up there on both G5s. Scoreboard agrees, GPS agrees. GPS autopilot, vertical speed, 800 feet a minute, altitude selected 2400.
Quad City approach, Skyhawk 859er Delta, 5000 on course.
Okay, 59er Delta Quad City approach.
200 more feet.
2964, advise we have the weather at the Devonport Airport and say approach request.
2964, we'll advise when we have the weather, and we're planning on the localizer runway 15.
Roger.
I see the airport, see the runway, perfect. But if we was in the soup, you wouldn't see nothing. All right, we are at 2400, at or above is a constraint. 2.5 miles to the final approach fix. So now I'm going to start slowing down. Go in with a mix, with the prop.
Quad City approach 865 Delta, we have current weather for Clinton.
About 15.5 inches of manifold pressure does it for me.
89er Delta, roger, fly heading 200, vector to the LS runway at 15 final approach course at Devonport, maintain 5000.
Okay, glide slope is active, the glide path is active. I'm at 2,400 feet. I'm going to hit approach.
200, 859er Delta, maintain 5000.
Scoreboard agrees, GPS agrees, flap speed, flaps
Dakota,
1.
1 Anna Mike, radar service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. You have a good day.
1 out of Mike, see ya. All right, there's my 90 knots. Glide path is alive. Davenport traffic, Dakota 1 on a Mike, 6 mile final, RNAV 21, full stop, Davenport. All right, glide path is coming in. Flaps 2. Gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop, seat belts. All right, glide path is captured. And we're going down. Everything's looking good. Landing lights coming on. Fuel pressure's good. Davenport traffic, Dakota 1 on a Mike, 5 mile final, RNAV 21, full stop, Davenport. Okay, I'll set my missed approach point altitude at this time at 3,000 feet, right? So I'm 1,050.
Burlington traffic, Skyhawk 9377 Hotel.
That's
7
my
miles, final
MDA.
runway 18, Burlington.
Doing that scan, everything's looking good. One last time, gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop, seat belts.
Throttle runway 21.
Illinois Valley traffic, Sky 2460 Foxtrot, 10 to the northeast, going to the left downwind runway 18, Illinois Valley.
Davenport traffic, Dakota 1 on a Mike, 3 mile final, RNAV 21, full stop, Davenport. $1,500 for 1,050. Continue. So you get the idea. It's perfect weather out here today. I'm going to enjoy this. So I'd keep counting this down till I got to 1,050, and then that's it. I'd go around, but that's why I do that. I'll take it from here. Davenport traffic to go to 19 Mike, short final, 2-1 full stop, Davenport. All right, runway's made. Full flaps.
500.
All right, 70 knots.
Roger, thank you.
Went straight down the runway. That makes it nice.
3 miles final for runway 18 for inbound that goes.
Some up trim going. A little flat. Kind of dropped out from under me a little bit, but not too shabby. Oh, inside straight out, ain't it? Davenport traffic to go to 19 Mike, clear of all runways, taxi to the T's, Davenport. What a beautiful day to fly. Me and Michelle going to Florida next week. Going to Clearwater for a couple days. Then we're going over to Orlando. I'm going to play some golf. She's going to lay out. Then I'm going bass fishing over in Johns Lake with a guide. I'll be going there frequently because my mother-in-law and father-in-law just purchased a house on Johns Lake over in near Apopka, Lake Apopka. So I'll be going over there trying to get me a hookup where I can hangar my plane over Apopka when I go down there to do some fishing and all. It'll be close and convenient. Sweet. All right, we'll set the trim back for takeoff. Always good practice to do. And there we go. Landing lights off. Should have turned that off when I got off the runway, huh? All right, guys and gals. Hey, thank y'all for coming along with me on this beautiful day to fly. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Like my video if you want to. That always helps. Not that I get paid for this anyway. Do it for fun. Thank y'all for coming along with me as always. I appreciate it. See ya.